Morning. Bit of a noticeable change in the weather yesterday and today. Here on the southwest coast, West Cork, South Kerry, West Kerry. If you ask anybody, they'll tell you it's the Scairbhín. A lot of you don't know about the Scairbhín. Scairbhín is a wind that typically blows, or a patch of cold weather, for the last 2 weeks in April, first 2 weeks in May. When we were going to school, wait, I must do the effect on this. We used to learn the phrase, I must say it in the right voice: Scairbhín na gCuach, Garbh agus fuar. And basically that means the Scairbhín, or the cuckoo, hard and cold. And yeah, it's typically kind of a hard, cold, easterly wind that we get last 2 weeks in April, first 2 weeks in May. I suspect it's something similar to the Mistral in France, or the Sirocco, is that in Italy? I think somewhere like that. Anyway, cuckoos aren't probably the way to tell the weather forecast. Nowadays we've lots of great apps and websites and all the rest we can go to. So stick around and I'll show you some of my favourite apps and weather for adventure racers. So the three apps that I tend to use for weather and find really good are, starting with the really short range stuff, the actual app that comes on the iPhone, the weather app, has now incorporated dark sky technology. I've never actually used dark sky, but I hear great things about it. But Apple bought it and they've incorporated a lot of the tech into their own weather app, and now it shows you, the amount of precipitation you can expect in the next hour. And I find that to be really good. It's as close to, perfect as you can expect for the next hour. And sometimes when you just go out for, a training ride, a training run, whatever it is, you really just want to know what's happening for the next hour and a half. You don't care what's happening in 3 days' time. Now, if you're planning something longer, so you're, doing some of your weekend stuff, or you've got an adventure race coming up or whatever, then you need a little bit more detail. My two go-tos are vogelart, which is, I think, from the Norwegian Weather Institute. They have a nice little desktop here, or it's on the phone, and they have a metrogram, which gives you a very nice visualization on what direction the wind's coming from, what the temperature's going to do, rain over the next couple of days in terms of the graph and things like that. And it's just a very simple and quick way to quickly get a sense in your own head, what's it going to be like. However, if I really want to plan things in a bit more detail, the app or the website I go to is VintoSky. VintoSky has a boatload of detail, more detail than you can shake a stick at. So I'll just go through it there in a bit of detail now. Things that you can look at on VintoSky are, they do temperature, but I suppose more importantly for us when we're outdoors is perceived temperature. And that takes into account things like wind speed, wind chill, precipitation, things like that. They also have precipitation, and the nice thing they do precipitation is that they break it into 3-hour chunks. You can slide your slider along the bottom to look at that, or you can go by individual hour. So again, if it's a case of, I'm going out this morning and I want to know what's happening for the next 3 or 4 hours, I can get a kind of a really nice granular look at that. Or if I just want broadly what's happening for the next couple of days, you go to the 3-hour one, you can pull the slider along the bottom and you get a real sense of what's happening there. They also have radar, which is for the next hour and a half, but that's kind of, again, what's happening right now in this particular area. You get a satellite look. The clouds one is useful, I find, in particular if you're getting into the hills, because I'm sure we've all experienced it. You set off from home, you're going maybe an hour somewhere to get into a local hill. It's a lovely clear day, and then suddenly you get into the hills and you're in the clouds and all the rest of it. So the clouds, you can break the granularity into total clouds, low clouds, middle clouds, high clouds, so you can get a real sense as you go up through the layers, you know, what's happening there. Wind speed, again, they break it down into, you know, what's happening at 10 meters above ground. But again, if you want to see, you know, what's happening in the hills or whatever, you can start to up the elevation on that, which is a nice little feature. They also give you wind gusts, and in particular if you're doing stuff along the coast, that starts to really matter, or the same maybe in the higher, more exposed ridges on the hills. Air pressure is again useful to know. Thunderstorms, probably not as big an issue here most of the year. Humidity, it's Ireland, it's always humid pretty much. But again, it gives you, you know, that nice sense of, you know, what it's going to be like, you know, what you need to pack. The waves one is useful because you can see wave directions, you know, how waves are going to start impacting against wind. So that's a really nice one. Snow cover, really not such a big one here in Ireland, I guess, but you know, at certain times of the year it's useful. And the other nice one they do, again, probably not one that I use that often, but is air quality. You know, sometimes if you're traveling or whatever in a city, it's nice to see. And you know, again, they've got that whole level of granularity going on. You can break it down to your PM 2.5s, your PM 10s, your NOx, your, you know, SO2s, etc. So excellent app. The level of detail there is incredible. You know, I would typically have a look at that on my desktop where I can, you know, really kind of zoom into the map, you know, pull around, see what I'm doing, where I'm going, etc. And then, you know, the app on the phone is there as well. The phone-based one is a paid app. You can change your units in the settings to metric, or if you want to go to the older units, you know, the Fahrenheits or whatever, you can go to those as well. But you know, can't say enough good about VintoSky. So that's probably the one you know, that I would use above all others if I really wanted to get a handle on what's happening, you know, today, tomorrow, this weekend, you know, for this endurance event I'm doing.